Blog Talk Radio.
And we're live. All right. Got 3 minutes till 11 p.m. Let's give everybody a few minutes to get in here. All right, 11 o'clock. So, welcome to the very first episode of Late Night Coffee with Caffeine Security. I'm your host, Ken, and let's see what's on the agenda for tonight. The very first on the agenda is Heartbleed. So, what is Heartbleed? Heartbleed is a vulnerability in a piece of software called OpenSSL. This software is commonly used, integrated with web server software. So I'm sure you've been getting all sorts of warnings lately. Oh my God, change your passwords, change your password. Oh my God, it's the end of the world. So let me explain to you a little bit how vulnerability works. When your web browser is communicating with a secured website, that's the HTTPS, you have what's called a heartbeat. Well, this heartbeat is basically the equivalent of your web browser sending a message to the web server saying, hey, web server, are you still there? If so, respond with the dog, D-O-G, and that's a 3-letter text. Web server replies back, D-O-G. Yep, I'm still here. So, why is that a problem? Well, the client can actually specify the length of the request. So, I can actually send in a request that says, hey server, are you still there? If so, send back the word cat, C-A-T, and that's a 500-letter request. So the server just happily responds back with CAT and then whatever else is in memory following your request. So this can give you all sorts of interesting info, such as passwords, private keys to your web server's certificates. The sky's the limit. Now, with that said, should you change your password on? And how soon should you change your password? So, believe it or not, I have not changed a single password yet. And the reason for that is it's going to take some time to get this vulnerability patched across the entire globe. I'm going to give this probably until the beginning of next week. Then I'll start changing my password. Now, something important to take into account is use a different password for every single website you go to. I know that's hard. Passwords are hard to remember. There are password management software suites out there you can use. I personally don't prefer them. But if you have a hard time remembering a password, then by all means. So, right now I have 0 callers. I've got some people listening in on the web. If any of you would like to call in and actually chat about some of these topics, please feel free. The number is 323-870-4367, and I'll be happy to chat with you. More about this Heartbleed vulnerability. So, how did it happen? Well, when the Heartbeat was implemented, what happened was there was never any bounds checking on the request. So when your client sends in that request that says, hey, I want you to return the word cat, and it's a 500-letter word, there was never any sanity check to make sure that the word cat really was a 500-letter word. So that's actually been fixed. They're now implementing it's a very small piece of code. If you go on my Caffeine Security blog, I actually have links to the source code if you're interested in taking a look at that. And, it was a very easy mistake. Just glancing at the original code and not realizing there was a vulnerability associated with it, very easy to overlook. Concern with Heartbleed. All right, obviously, passwords compromised all over. What else, though? So one of the other issues is that, as I said before, Heartbleed could possibly result in your server's private keys being compromised. Now, what's a private key? Private key is part of how your web server secures its communication with a web client, your internet browser. And to do that, it uses public and private key pairing. So if your certificate has a private key that only you know, only you can generate that certificate. But if someone else knows your private key, then they can actually regenerate your certificate and spoof your website. That creates all sorts of fun opportunities for hackers to steal additional data beyond the original exploit. Moving on from Heartbleed, let's talk a little bit about the Windows XP end of life. Why is this such a big deal? All right, so Windows XP has probably been the most commonly implemented operating system in the past 10 years. Okay, so this software has been out there for a good while now. Everyone's used to using it, and a lot of people are hesitant to switch over to a new version. For that matter, some people's computers can't even support the new versions of Windows. Well, unfortunately, as of this month, Windows XP is no longer going to be supported by Microsoft. What does that mean for an end user? Well, now that it's no longer supported, you're going to have to, until you can upgrade, you're really going to have to heavily rely upon third-party software to keep your computer protected. I strongly recommend upgrading as soon as possible because it's only going to take one serious exploit, one serious vulnerability, and everyone that's still using Windows XP is going to be an extreme danger zone, and there's a good chance that third-party applications such as McAfee, Symantec, Norton, they might not even be able to protect you properly. So a little more scary is I actually went on a website called Shodan. Shodan is a website, and it actually looks at what kind of systems are out there listening, not necessarily on Google, but just what ones are out there that you can randomly connect to. So I did a little bit of a search, And I actually found there are over 200,000 Windows XP systems out there running web servers. This is terrifying. The reason this is terrifying is now all it's going to take is one exploit in IIS for Windows XP. IIS is the web server for Windows XP. Now we're going to have 200,000 drone systems, 200,000 zombies, 200,000 systems all in a botnet that will be happily talking to each other and their central command and control and doing whatever someone wants them to. Absolutely terrifying that we're even in this situation. Possibly even more terrifying, though, is that just for fun, I did a search to see, well, how many Windows 2000 systems are there still out there? Found almost 300,000. 300,000 Windows 2000 systems. Windows 2000 has been unsupported for many years now. No longer receives security updates. There's multiple vulnerabilities out there that could seriously ruin your day if you're running a Windows 2000 server on the public internet without any protection whatsoever. It's very unfortunate that home users and organizations have the proper resources to secure their system. I wish there was an easy solution. I really do. I mean, the ultimate solution is user education. It is educating the home users, the business users, and show them, hey, don't do this. You know, don't run unsupported operating systems because the risk is just tremendous. What else do we have on the agenda today? Let's see. We've got critical infrastructure cybersecurity framework. We've got news of the world phone hacking scandal. So news of the world phone hacking scandal. Let's touch on that one briefly. So I haven't been following this real closely, but it really, really sounds like there's a lot of people in hot water on this. Possibly some of the people that were actually doing the hacking, even though they were doing this hacking under instruction from someone else. So, consideration is, you know, as far as the whole news of the world thing, if you're an IT professional and your boss asks you to do something illegal, don't do it. Your boss cannot protect you. Even if, you know, your boss is, you know, a Fortune 500 company, even if your boss is part of a state or federal government, if they ask you to do something that's illegal, you can't do it. You must not do it. Because if you do, it's not going to just come back on your boss for having you do it. It's still going to come back on you. Now, you know, of course, you know, there's whole, you know, plea bargains, and you can get immunity if you testify, blah, blah, blah. But the best approach is to put yourself in that situation. Go on to the Michaels data breach. So, back in January, it was announced by Brian Krebs, and I'm probably butchering his last name, so Brian, if you're listening, I apologize. Back in January, he reported that he believed Michaels, which is an arts and crafts store chain, was affected by the same type of hacking that Target was. So just this week, Mike finally released a official announcement confirming, yes, they actually were affected by the hack. And it looks like let's see, 3 million credit cards and debit cards compromised. So not as big as the Target hack, The target hack was 40 million credit cards and debit card numbers. But still, it's still a pretty large number of people. PR nightmare for them. And, unfortunately, and you actually can read a little bit about my issues with this on my blog. The payment card industry is flawed as far as the security requirements. Because if you have a cash register, why do you not have software on your cash register that says only software that I know about is allowed to run? There is whitelisting software out there that will do this for you. Okay? All you have to do is say, okay, these are known good executables that I want to run. Only let them run. If something unknown gets on here, don't let it even execute. Don't even let it start. The malware could be completely mitigated that way. But, nobody implements it because it's too hard. So now 40 million target customers and 3 million Michael's customers have to suffer for it. Both attacks, point-of-sale attacks. The actual cash registers were being attacked. They actually had malware installed on the cash registers themselves. No excuses. No excuses. That is completely unacceptable in my opinion. But then again, I always believe in a higher standard of organization. So looking a little bit through this, Michael's has been very slow to release this data since Brian Krebs initially released his announcement about it. And they're saying that it affected probably about 7% of the payment cards used at Michael's stores in the U.S. during the relevant time period. Now, the relevant time period was from May 8, 2013, January 27, 2014. That is almost an entire year. It's just incredible. It blows my mind. So, to the latecomers, welcome. I see you had a few more people hop on. That's great. Right now talking about the Michael's data breach. Any of you want to hop in here, chat about it, by all means, give us a call, 323-870-4367. Happy to talk with you. About halfway through the show. This is only going to be a half-hour show, just because I'm too cheap to pay Blog Talk Radio at this point in time. But so far, covered Heartbleed, covered Windows XP end of life, and covered the Michael's data breach, and also covered the News of the World phone hacking scandal. To Blog Talk Radio, I have 7 minutes left until this is over with. So, cutting me a little bit short there, but okay. I'm not paying for this stuff. That's all right. So, hey, how's it going? Yep, I see you all in chat. Infrastructure cybersecurity framework. Now this is something that not everybody's going to be as interested in as I am. But the NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology, has come up with a framework for improving critical infrastructure cybersecurity. Now, why is this important? Well, simply put, critical infrastructure, not just in our country, but probably around the world, is a giant sitting target. So Stuxnet was the very first malware that we saw that actually targeted a physical device with the intention of destroying that device or seriously damaging the device. This is through the what's called SCADA, which is a protocol used to manage hardware devices, from centrifuges to water pumps to prison cell controls. It's scary how much stuff is actually controlled by SCADA. And one of the biggest problems with SCADA is that if you patch the underlying software, there's a very good chance you're going to break that software. Because of this, most organizations cannot patch their software. At the same time, though, most organizations are failing to take the proper steps to isolate and secure these vulnerable systems. So you can actually go on to a website called Shodan. I mentioned it earlier in the call. And you can actually do a search for the headers that some of these SCADA devices provide. And there's thousands of them out there. It's absolutely unbelievable that there's thousands of SCADA devices out there on the public internet, some of which aren't even protected by any authentication. Why? Why is this? Is it just, convenience? Oh, hey, if, such and such piece of equipment breaks down while I'm at home, I don't want to have to drive into the office. So, I don't know. We do have one caller on here. If you're interested, please press 1, I believe it is. You'll have to forgive me. I've never done this before. So, all right. If you're interested in talking, by all means, speak up. Proper isolation. Make sure we isolate the device. All right. I see a caller here. They haven't raised their hand or anything. I'm not sure actually how that works. So let's just put them on live. So let's find out who this is. So,
hi, Ken.
Caller, you're on the air.
Hey, it's David. How you doing, Ken?
Hey, David. How's it going, man? Hey, so we got 3 minutes
Good.
left.
I just wanted to throw in a quick tidbit of advice on the passwords that you were talking about earlier in the show.
Absolutely.
I know how most people, they usually choose to use the same password for each site, which we both know that can be very dangerous, especially all someone has to do is just get one password and then boom, your entire life is ruined at that point online. So what I usually suggest is to use a phrase for each password that is related to the website that they're using, and that way they can keep that same word but also use that other phrase. Like, for example, for Facebook, if someone used, like, blue and then that other word that they use for as their normal password. So if they put that in the front, make a couple letters uppercase and maybe add a couple numbers and symbols. That's always a good way to make it familiar for each site, so that way only you know what it is when you go to the site, whereas somebody else would have to really guess hard to try to figure it out. Yep,
that's very good advice. Now, the only thing I would add to that is, and correct me if you think I'm wrong here, is I would not use that same password scheme for anything extremely sensitive, such as a bank account login or your retirement account login, anything like that. Just because if somebody figures out your password scheme, let's say they compromise 3 sites, oh, hey, this site's the same as this, but it's just changed a little bit. Don't want them to figure out your bank account site as well.
Absolutely. You should always switch it up, even if you just change the spelling to a certain way where it's shortened or abbreviated. It can always make a big difference. So, yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that.
Yeah. All right, so less than 1 minute left here. Apparently Blog Talk Radio is cutting me short here. So, all right, so I think this has been a great episode. I just want to thank everybody for listening. Please, by all means, go check out my blog, caffeinesecurity.blogspot.com. I'm going to post something on my blog about this once the podcast is available. Please leave some feedback. Let me know what you think. If you liked it, should I do this again in the future? Please let me know. So, all right, 5 seconds left. So that is it. Thank you all for calling.